So today I wanted to talk about the future of Nintendo Switch Online and what I think is going to happen. So hey everybody, how's it going? So I actually found this on the Australian eShop, or not eShop, the Nintendo website, the Australian version. So as you can see, we scroll down here to the included games we already got. They're in release order. And what somebody pointed out to me, which is very interesting for the upcoming games, Goldeneye is the first one up, even though there was no release date for it. Some people thought 2023 because that's when Japan has their Goldeneye releasing, and I thought the same thing because that wouldn't make sense. Why would they release it at different times? But no, it's right here, which is interesting because, as you guys know, we didn't even get a N64 game last month, so I'm hoping we get GoldenEye and Pilot Wings this month. That would be great to make up for it missing. So yeah, that's the first thing I wanted to cover here. And then another thing that I found interesting, Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Stadium 2. Now, this is interesting because, as they said in the trailer for the game, you cannot transfer Pokemon anywhere, which I mean makes sense. Where you're going to transfer from Pokemon Home that has like hundreds of more Pokemon than was ever in Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 wouldn't make much sense. But what's interesting is these games very heavily rely on the Game Boy Pokemon games, which leads me to believe that this is a hint at the future of NSO, which I think Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and hopefully Game Boy Advance are coming sooner than we anticipate, if this remains true, this release order here. If it does remain true and we're getting one once a month and we get two this month or two in a different month, whatever, these should be releasing around February, March time, which typically Nintendo hasn't announced new systems for Nintendo Switch Online in February directs, but I mean, it's possible, right? Especially since Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance wouldn't be any new tier, like it wouldn't be an expansion pack plus or whatever. At least I hope not, because like, dear lord, it would get very expensive very quickly. I want GameCube the most, I'm gonna be honest, but like Game Boy Advance is pretty cool. Um, Now, some people have been speculating over the structure, like, oh, would we get like Game Boy, Game Boy Color in the standard NSO, and then Game Boy Advance in the expansion pack? Honestly, I think we're getting all three in the expansion pack. Because I don't think there's any way they're going to give us like Pokemon games for 20 bucks a year. Like, that's a huge deal. And there's already like hundreds of games on NES and SNES, quality notwithstanding. There's still tons of NES and SNES games missing that I would like to see, like Mario RPG, Final Fantasy 1 through 6, Chrono Trigger. And where the heck is my Duck Hunt? That one you don't even need Square Enix for. So, like, come on now. But yeah, no. I really don't think, especially because we probably would get Pokemon games because of these two Pokemon games. I really don't think Game Boy and Game Boy Color would be in the standard NSO, which is going to annoy people probably. But I mean, it makes the expansion pack that much more better of a deal. So yeah, I do like all these games here. I do, but I will say, even if I'm wrong, right? Let's say Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 come out and there's like no word on Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance still, even with these out, which would be weird still to me because everybody says online you can't really beat these games without the Game Boy games because they give you rental Pokemon, which is fine, but it makes the game extremely difficult and nearly almost impossible to beat, at least according to some people online. So it's just like, well, do you really want to play a game that's nearly impossible to beat? You know, like it's great Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 are here. They were on my list of games that I wanted. Excellent. But how much use are they going to actually be without the transfer pack functionality? That I don't know. I do believe the Game Boy family will come at some point, especially because they were heavily leaked in April, even with transfer pack functionality. So I mean, here's hoping, man. You know, I hope it's like February, March around when these come out. Because wouldn't that be sick? Oh, hey guys, Pokemon Stadium's coming out. But in addition to that, we have the original Pokemon games coming out on Game Boy NSO, and they could transfer between each other. That would be the sickest release ever, and that'd be a great way to market Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 and market Game Boy Switch Online, to be honest. So that would be awesome, and that's what I'm really hoping for in general. So what N64 games do I want to see in the future? Well, I want to see Banjo-Tooie because I mean, of course, I know that game is controversial, but I mean, hey, we got the first Banjo-Kazooie, why not the second one? I want Diddy Kong Racing, Donkey Kong 64 again. Donkey Kong 64 is controversial these days, but I still want it on there. Um, what else? Ooh, I want these two games. I don't know if they would happen though. I want Conker's Bad Fur Day and Perfect Dark. Simply because they're iconic N64 games, but they're rated M. And, well, this rating is different from the US one, but the US N64 Switch Online is rated T for teen, so they would kind of have to find a weird way around that. I mean, it's possible, I hope so, but it might not be what they're looking for, unfortunately. And yeah, those are the future titles I would want to see on the service. Oh, and the last game I almost forgot. I would want to see the original Smash Brothers on this service. That would be cool because you don't need to get Rare involved like with all the other games I mentioned and stuff like that. And now I know not all the games I mentioned is what everybody wants because there some people want like Jet Force Gemini and stuff. I don't want that just simply because when Xbox first brought it over to Rare Replay, the controls were so incredibly bad they had to update it. And with NSO, Nintendo is most certainly not going to update controls. So we're probably, I mean, we could get the game. I wouldn't complain against it. I would just be like, well, the controls are probably going to be god awful. Nintendo probably won't fix them. So like, I don't really know if I would want that to be completely honest. So yeah, those are the games that I would want. Um, so yeah, I mean that's what I would want. I'm hoping that we get Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance at least sometime around Pokemon Stadium because I want to try out these two games. So I don't want to try them out if they're nearly impossible to beat. Like, what fun is that gonna bring, you know? So yeah, that's kind of what's going on here. I do think after this batch, we will get a new system because after this batch, there really isn't that much N64 games left to pick from that people would legitimately want because the N64 library is not that big. So, yeah, let me know in the comments below what N64 games you want. If you guys agree with my theory that they might release the Game Boy family around Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, at least I'm hoping. I just hope that they release the Game Boy family of systems at some point in the Switch's life at this point because they're really slow with rolling out systems with this subscription model, which is why I don't like subscription models. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching.